What's going on with y'all? It's your boy Said, man. I just want to come on here and talk about some real spill, of course, and just to emphasize that everything that we do, every person in this world will become a memory eventually. You know, we will become the nostalgia that people nowadays are being nostalgic about that was happening 10 years ago. You know, my channel, it always has throwback gameplays of Saints Row, GTA, Call of Duty, you know, all these different games that I've played on this channel. And there's going to be more games being played on this channel soon, of course. But all these things are just nostalgic games that I have played before or have never played before, and I missed on the opportunity to play. But here's the thing, right? These games that I'm playing, I once forgot about. You know, I forgot about GTA 4 at one point in time. Like, you know those games where it just sit on your console like collecting dust, and it's just there because, you know, you forgot to delete it or you don't want to delete it because it's something like some memorabilia. But, you know, it was on the console, but I just forgot about it. Like, there is a lot of games that I have played, and those games were my childhood. Those games were, you know, at one point I thought I'd never stop playing. You know, those games were something that I thought I'd just be getting on every day, playing with my homeboys, and we just gonna be living it up. But the thing is, it's like those games will soon pass. And outside of games, those people that we talk to or we talk to, you know, they will pass and we will pass. You know, everybody in life, you know, we will be a memory to somebody, you know. It's not like we're going to be a memory like we passed away or something, but, you know, we move on to different neighborhoods and we moved on to different states, probably continents, and it's just the way of the world. That's just how the world operates. You know, it got to keep moving no matter if you're here or not. And new memories have to be made. New ideas have to be created and new duties have to be obtained and achieved. Because like I said, life keeps moving. Nothing stays still. And there's going to be a point in life where we're going to have to put something down to pick something else up. Putting something down doesn't mean that it was just bad for us. You know, it was just something that was good for the moment. It was something that got us through those days, those weeks, those months, possibly those years. But just like all things, things must come and go. And the other thing that we picked up could possibly help us, you know, get better in life. Whether that's picking up new friends, picking up new hobbies, picking up new interests, you know, picking up a new job, picking up some internships, anything to keep us elevated and keep us going towards that route of evolution. You know, we're going to have to go towards those things. We got to gravitate. We have to gravitate towards progression. We have to always want to get better. And that's just how life is. Life is always about evolution. Like, I remember a time where I had my first relationship. Mind you, it wasn't something that lasted longer than 2 months. It was on some summer type stuff. And that relationship, you know, I thought that was going to be my first love and my only love, because obviously I'm foreign to the concept of true love. And to this day, I really don't know what true love is because I haven't had a relationship that was serious. It was more based upon lust and all that. And I was an immature fellow. I'm going to be very honest. I was very immature. But of course, I was staying protected when I was indulging in activities like that. And it's not like I was just hunching on any woman I seen. You know, it was just I had, you know, a relationship with that person. And I had 2 more relationships, quote unquote. And, you know, I was doing a do before we got married, and we shouldn't be doing that. But, you know, like I said in previous videos, I'm not perfect. But, you know, my first relationship, you know, I thought that was going to be my everything. I thought that was going to be something I could just stick with forever and ever and ever. And obviously that first relationship, you know, I forgot to mention, that was like 4 years ago. So, you know, within them 4 years, you know, things, you know, new things happen. You know, life brings you new experiences. And sometimes life makes you forget about stuff that you thought you would never forget. And it was a point in time where I was literally just not even remembering my first relationship. And I remember my homeboy and my homegirl, you know, we was in a call or whatever, and they was like, not they, my homegirl was like, you remember your first relationship with old girl? I was like, who? And then I had to get in my brain on some Jimmy Neutron shit. And I'm like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Because that person, I forgot about. Like, even, bro, I'm not going to lie. To this day, like, I have so much shit I got to do in my life. And I have so many obligations I got to keep, not towards anybody else, but just to myself, you know. And the last thing I be thinking about is some shit that happened 4 years ago. That's what I'm saying. Like, these things become a memory. These things are a blur. And probably for the greater good, because we don't want to hold on to things that's in the past, especially if it's not good memories. You don't want to hold on to something that could possibly burden you and make you want to project your failures upon, relationship wise onto others that got joyful souls. Not everybody's story when it comes to those type of topics is, everybody just get cheated on and, we experiencing the same women just be hoes. No, you don't want to project hatred towards women onto other people. Women are beautiful. I don't care if they've done you wrong. I don't care if one woman want to give you the total idea of all women. No, that's an immature mindset. We should not be thinking like that. Women need men, just like men need women, and we can come on here and say, oh, no, don't, bro. Men don't. Yes, bro. There's going to be something in your life that a woman could do better than a man, bro. I'm just letting you know right now. There are certain things that women do better than men, and there are certain things men do better than women. That's the whole point of equality. That's the whole point of equity and balance. You feel me? So that's outside the topic though. But like I said, that whole first relationship, bro, I forgot all about that shit. And as we talking about it, I'm recollecting the time that we broke up, and it's hitting me because I was a freshman on campus. I just graduated. And obviously, me and her didn't go to the same school, which, it was bound to happen. She was bound to break up with me because we was going to eventually be long distance. And I just remember waking up 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock p.m., freshman at the school I go to. So I'm staying up all night, making new friends, playing the game with the guys in the lobby and all that, man, just having good times. And I just remember her telling me, yeah, I think we better off being friends, with a smile on her face and puckering her lips and giving me the deuces. And it's just like, man, I really forgot that happened. You feel me? And then we talking more and more about, old girl and I, and, I'm just remembering a lot of other things that I totally blanked out in my head. But, that's just what I'm saying with everything is going to become a memory. Everything is going to be a blur. Things are not just going to be something that we're going to hold on to forever. There's a lot of stuff that happens in life that's just not going to be as important as things that are in the present. And there is no reason to really look back in the past because nothing's going to change. You feel me? This is not no Life is Strange scenario. Once things have been said and done, the second afterwards, it's over. Go ahead and just accept that it is what it is. That's the life scenario that you got going on, and you're just going to have to build from it or let it break you down. And that's just the beauty of life, man. And just like how she was a blur, a memory in my head, I'm probably a blur or a memory to a past friend, a past relationship, or just something that happened probably a month ago that people forget. People forget things easily nowadays, especially because, we consume so many things and our brains just turn into mush meat by all this TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat. If people still use Snapchat, if you still do, then shout out to you, I guess. But, at the end of the day, it's so much stuff that we got to remember. And we only remember the things that we really, truly care about. There's going to be a lot of things that happen that's like, oh, well, that happened, or I don't really care. I don't really want to remember stuff like that. But there's also going to be things that we do care about that's going to be a memory in our head for a little hot minute. But then after a while, we get over it. And then next thing you know, we're on to the next, and we got to keep progressing. But just remember in life, man, we are all going to be memories, bro. Every last one of us. The trends, the artists, the people around you, the neighborhoods you live in, the schools you went to, the things that happened in your life, the fun activities that you once participated in, whether that's you playing in high school, you playing in middle school, elementary, sports-wise, all that stuff, the grades you made, the things you accomplished in life, unless if you out here, making monumental changes and things that's going to be revolutionary, like the Declaration of Independence and many more historical doings. But, outside of that, things like sports, the day this NBA player dropped this amount of points, or the day that this player retired from the NBA or the NFL, or when Tom Brady did yada, yada, yada against this team, like all that stuff going to be a memory, bro. Because that's like I said, there's going to be so many more things that happen within these different industries that it's going to be too much information to collect, and we just going to forget about all of it. So just remember, man, and with this lesson that I'm telling you, bro, it all boils down to what I really want to talk about, which is when all this is, all this is going to be a memory, bro. So just do whatever the hell you want to do, bro. Just do something, bro. Because at the end of the day, you got to live your life. Like I always say in every video, you got your own life to live. You can't really care about what other people got to say, because other people got their own lives to live. And sometimes people be so miserable to the point where they want to put their miserable lives upon you. They want to make everybody else's life tragic and hell and this, that, and the third, because they don't want to find a way to overcome their own battles and their own hardships. So just do whatever you want to do with your life, man. It don't got to be to the highest degree of being in the NBA or the NFL or become a famous YouTuber with millions of subscribers. You got a whole fan base or a family behind you, and you got hundreds and thousands of people watching your video every single time you post, or you become a famous TikToker, or, it don't got to be towards that, because those things eventually going to fall too. Like all this fame and stuff, eventually there's going to be the next person rising up, and, we're going to be forgetting about the things that you was famous for. And, now the things that you was famous for, it's not that trendy no more. So all that stuff you was doing was lame now. And, it just all comes full circle. So, hey, man, just achieve what you want to achieve, man. Believe in what you want to believe in, and just do what you want to do, bro. Because at the end of the day, all this is just going to be a memory, and people going to talk about it. Of course, it's going to be months where we're going to be like, dang, bro, remember this time when? But, hey, after that month of you saying remember this time, now people going to forget about it. Or if they don't forget about it, it's going to be something that's not as important of what they're thinking about in the present. And, it's just going to be something that's, phew, right over your head, right over the brain. But, hey, man, I thank y'all for listening. If y'all made it this far, man, I appreciate you for tuning in and just hearing some wisdom. And I just want y'all to understand that all these things that we doing, whether that's creative or non-creative, things that help us, things that makes us happier, it's all going to be a blur in the memory. Whether it's something that is impactful to millions or impactful to 500, it's going to be a memory. But it's all about what you're doing in the now to change that person that's watching this video now and help them think better for the future, think about things differently for the future. But I appreciate y'all for tuning in to today's video, man. If y'all are new, like, share, subscribe. And if you've been watching the videos, I appreciate you for staying with the kid, man. I just been staying patient with this, man. I just been trying to do different things. And like I said, I'm my own boss. So I don't have nobody editing my videos for me, or, making my TikToks and all this stuff, making my YouTube shorts. So, I just got to do this junk on my own. And I'm not going to sit up here and be like, man, bruh, I wish I did this and that. No, this is what I signed up for. And I just got to understand that there's going to be times where I feel unmotivated, and there's going to be times where I feel motivated. So that's all I got for today's video, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in again. Thank y'all for listening. Hey, I'm going to keep this rolling, man. I'm going to keep this going for y'all. I love each and every one of y'all again. Thank you for watching. And I always thank God for waking me up in the morning to give me the opportunity to speak to y'all, even though I'm speaking through a phone. But thank y'all for watching. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.